Anyway, Hayley Trezise, thank you so much for joining me at the Painted Garden. It's lovely to see you and to hear so much about what you've been up to in the last few weeks. Quarantines had been different for everyone for different reasons. Emergence of life and art, and also a monastic experience, as we've said before, with the unearthing of one's soul truth. And I wanted to use this space to talk about the sacred and how it informs your practice creatively, and how life has sort of led you in various different directions in that way. And how do you bring sort of order to the chaos of resolving how you express yourself from that perspective creatively?
In this situation, you mean?
Well, like it's kind of interesting to see how your fashion and your sculpture and your shamanic practice all comes together in a beautiful divine art.
Yeah. Well,
only a small question.
Yeah, that's right. I'll just flow, and not that if I start thinking about it, then I won't be saying the right things. I'll just flow. But with so my art, like I've already explained, is like a really big part of me. And the thing that I haven't spoken about in the previous video is equal to that is my sacred work. And for many years I saw them as kind of two separate things. So this was my art and my business, and that very kind of, it's a separate thing really. And then I had all of these other things going on that I used to do in my own practices.
Never worked with pets.
No. and just doing various things. And saying on a microphone, no one can hear us.
She'll settle.
Yeah. And then as kind of time went on, I just started to, I think maybe I just listened to something, and it had a bit of a wake up call, and thought, oh my goodness, what, it's the same thing, and the reason it's the same thing is because it comes from that place. It comes from my heart center, so there is no separation. And then I kind of, and at the same time as that, I was diving deeper and deeper into my shamanic work, and just finished a 3-year training with the Sacred Trust. So I've fully immersed myself into my sacred
wonderful
work. Yeah, and over the last 3 years, because of this thing of there's no separation, I've started to play with creating art from that perspective. So the whole process. So if I was going to create a garment, what would I make? Okay, for example, I've made these cocoon coats, and then I do a shamanic journey to ask for information from the spirit world of what it's supposed to look like, how am I, blessing it, awakening it, and then symbols, words, whatever, and then
great.
And then I have created garments with all of that, still using waste, still using little, bits and pieces lined with organic fabrics. So still keeping under that same umbrella, of course. And then I sort of just made a few, and actually as soon as I made those, I had them exhibited in some fabulous high-end craft fairs, and they just went, and it was a really big, okay, this is working. I absolutely love doing them. It's just because it's the whole of me rather than it just being one aspect.
Yeah.
Not shy. It was I came to that point where it's I don't want to shy behind this, I guess in some ways, this shameful place of talking about the sacred work, because I saw them, and it was only me that was making it separate.
I mean, there is a complication though of resistance to do with sacred work, because there are safe words, like sacred's a safe word, holy's unsafe.
Yeah.
God is unsafe. Source is safe.
Yeah.
Angel tends to be reasonably safe as long as you're not talking about fluffy angels.
Yeah.
In art though, and in contemporary practice, one tries to relate to philosophy though, to try and safeten the zone, and then work back into a spiritual kind of understanding with the safe words to try and express it. But all we're doing is masking something that we are quite freely exploiting
Yeah.
and enjoying and being inspired by. And that sort of sense of unsafe and that is created through other people's resistance to something that might be religious or might bring a kind of conflict into their lives. It feels it's important to sort of to cross those disciplines and not be concerned by understanding. I think what you're saying is know one's own safety,
Yeah.
and that's a bit like what we're going through right now. It's
Yeah.
we know where we're safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like with the work. It's like why am I worrying about what people think?
Yeah.
You know, why it's like that's absolutely insanity, really. And it's the same, and it's insanity because I don't feel like that about my clothes. My whole ethos is like that. So, you know, embracing it. And the other thing that I've really come to realise, I just want to say, is 100% for me, there is no separation between shamanism and art.
Yeah.
That's my way of where I come from with that work. So, and that's like the performing shaman as such, you know, that playful, the trickster element.
Yeah.
You know, and the masks and the
The
costumes.
Joker, the dreamer.
Joker, yeah.
The trickster, I mean,
yeah.
in that shamanic.
Yeah, exactly. And then also kind of the creating.
Pan,
Yeah,
the green man.
absolutely.
List is endless.
Yeah, and then you think about shamanic journey. You go on a shamanic journey, and you're getting all this, like, real reality of these absolutely powerful images,
And
not
intentional
only images,
words and poignant and
absolutely, it's
things you
everything.
can't turn your back on.
Absolutely, all of your senses are awakened.
Yeah.
And if you know, that's like wow, that's art, that's creativity. So
It is.
yeah,
And there's the living in the imagination and the dream world and the vision, and it's kind of creating a space where you're painting your reality.
yeah,
But in an abstract space of the subconscious,
yeah,
which once you get good at navigating, of course, you then know how to work with it.
yes.
And there's
exactly.
there's an intimacy in your relationship to the tools you use and the profound aspects that come from that journey.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just it's a trust thing, really, as well, and a confidence thing. It's like
Yeah.
completely trusting,
Yeah.
100% that what you're getting is real, because it is. There's, you know.
And for sure that is a point that people get scared of as well,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there can be interference. There's demons and lower energies that, you know,
Yeah.
from different frameworks with it. The tricksters and the playful ones
Yeah.
can kind of mess with your
Yeah, and they're only
understanding.
I see them as only words that people have labelled, you know,
Yeah.
like labels of.
Yeah, but it's sort of the sort
relevant.
of the element of giving energy to the more playful creatures that also can play with your sensibility, can play with your sense of reality.
Yeah,
And that is also an area that one has to get to know, though. One has to know where that stops and you begin, where play is safe,
absolutely.
and how to create a safe place to enjoy and to be
Absolutely.
happy
Yeah.
and to live in light.
Absolutely,
And
and
one-
that takes
yeah.
work as well.
Yeah,
You know,
it
that's why
does. It's
it's
experience.
not for everybody, and it is a really it's a commitment. You know, certainly in the work in the sacred work and the shaman it's not just like, oh yeah, I just
Yeah,
want to be a
yeah.
shamanic practitioner. It's like, well, if
Yeah.
you want to be a shamanic practitioner, then you've got a lifelong journey. Oh well. A lifelong journey to go on, and that means about clearing out. I'm like signing up, going, I'm clearing out,
Yeah.
and I want to do all the healing work to come back
Yeah.
home. You know, so you have to, and that's lifelong. It's not easy.
Well,
all the
but the
time.
whole practice is about facilitating life altogether.
Yeah.
I mean, it is that circle of life where you have the harshness, the severity, you have the light, the eternity, the eternal aspects, the sense of openness and the sense of value that comes from that wisdom, of learning how to be present with the pain and in the happiness, in the joy.
Absolutely.
You need to be able to do both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's actually. I'm just going to go on to like my
Yeah.
present situation, which is really relevant
Yeah.
to what you said. So, you know, over the last 3 weeks, I've been on. My mother-in-law was really ill, and I was by her side for like certainly for 2 weeks, right up until the end as she passed over. Well, we all were, her family, she was surrounded by her family. But me and her stepdaughter Emma, we were sort of taking on the role of being right there for her, you know, in all aspects. Like obviously from my perspective, it was my making sure that everything was clear for her to pass over, but also just being the carer, being real life stuff, you know. And so that idea of like what you said about, you know, life and death, or light and dark, it goes hand in hand, and it doesn't mean that they're not, one is less beautiful than the other. You know, it's like we have to go through darkness to get to the light. You know, that's often the way.
And that path of unconditional love, where you can be present in love, I think can lead you to a place where you can also experience joy in the pain. You can be really present in a light way with death and in pain, as long as you're willing to acknowledge the severity of it.
Absolutely.
Like the impact of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The horrendous nature, the tragedy of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of like when, like in the moment of when, like being with her as she took, like just using this as an example, because it's really, you know, it's only last Thursday. So being in the moment of seeing her take her last breath, it was like, like there was tears from her two sons either side of her, which was just like, it was painful. It was like, it's really hard to explain, but it was like like a deep sadness, but equally like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Truly. And I think that can be hard to understand, but I can only say that because of what I experienced. So having these kind of these two exactly, not being afraid to feel that pain, and in it, absolutely immersed and being surrounded in it, literally physically, from all the energies going around, from emotions, to just finding this kind of beauty, knowing that, you know,
the light was there.
The light was there, yeah.
And the path was there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've noticed it's a very special, sensitive time when you're moving with someone that's crossing into the spiritual world, and one has to slow down. It's like time stops almost.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then you experience time in a very different way. It's like multidimensional. But that element of being able to see the light, you know, the light coming. I remember when my father died, he said it was a cloudy grey sky in April. It was like the worst clouds you can imagine. He looked out and he said, "Oh, isn't the sun beautiful?"
Oh, wow.
And we were like, okay, it's happening now. You know, wow. It's like, and then when I saw him leave his body, I was the only one, and I went straight into a meditation space. But you know, there is that problem that the world can be exclusive. It can feel exclusive seeing in this way, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That not one has to understand that not everyone can see all these things, the light and the sense of uplift and elevation, and it's difficult holding space with different visions in that way.
Yeah, totally. And there's a lot of fear. There's so much fear around death, you know, and understandably, you know. Yeah. But I just, you know, I really hope that as a culture that we can like worship death, leaving life as much as a baby is coming into life. Yeah. Because for me, it's as important. Yeah.
I mean, even though a baby coming into life there could be more.
Yeah.
I mean, and the same. I was, for some reason, the last week I was watching a natural funeral pile at the end of a film. And I was thinking, God, I really like that idea. I want to die like that. I mean, I want to have a natural funeral pile in the middle of nature where the flames are burning and consuming me, and everyone's drumming and screaming and chanting, and like there's a big energy of explosion. And I was like thinking, how have we lost that? Yeah. And actually one day I was sleeping in the cabin here, and I went back to the bedroom the next day, and it's so open here and there's such a big sky, but the next day I went back into the house and I said to my partner, we were in the bedroom, I feel like I'm in a coffin. And it was just that sense of, you know, enclosed space.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's all coming, it's closed in again. And I think reality can sometimes feel like that at that point of death, where you need to feel that sense of universal spirit. And actually what can happen through the process of a funeral is it gets closed in. And with birth, it should be an open, natural experience, but often the sense of protection is like, you know, stressful and, you know, a need to protect the life, which is a needed thing, but, you know, it's difficult to get the right balance.
Exactly, it is. Yeah.
It is really amazing. And so I think that giving thanks to the sacred in everything that we've shared, I think I'd like us to light a candle of to say to Jean, thank you for sharing.
Because you met Jean as well.
I did, and she was a lovely soul, a lovely person, and I really connected with her. So I will do that after we've finished, but just so that everyone knows that we'll give a bit of a moment to respect her, how she shared her journey with us, and thank her for being here with us still in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Feel it.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Jean.
Yeah, thank you, Jean. Yeah.
And thank you, Hayley. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. Thanks for inviting me.